And I thought with the state of the nation today, it's no time to waste, get to work immediately. As we've indicated earlier, we're going to be signing a number of executive orders over the next several days of the week. And I'm going to start today, the compounding crisis of
January 24th, 2021, the first week of the Biden administration. Biden signs an executive order to revoke the Keystone XL pipeline permit originally awarded to TC Energy. When I first heard of Biden canceling the Keystone, my first reaction was to be against the move. After all, I am a big MAGA supporter. But to be completely honest with you, I really didn't know a whole lot about it other than what was on the surface. Cheaper oil creates jobs. What could be bad about it? And this was way back in January 20th, 2017, the first day of the Trump administration. This time, though, I wanted to really know more about it. So I started to dig into it and do some research. What I found out was not what I expected. What I found out was that the irony is that the Keystone XL is a much ado about nothing. The full name of the pipeline is the Trans-Canada Keystone Pipeline GP Ltd. The project was first proposed in 2005 by Calgary, Alberta-based TransCanada Corp. And approved by Canada's National Energy Board in 2007. The pipeline would originate in Canada's oil sands. In March 17th, 2008, Bush approved a permit to the owner, TC Energy, and as 31st March 2020, the government of Alberta, Canada. In January 22nd, 2005, ConocoPhillips acquired a 50% stake in the project. So here's the thing. As of January 24th, 2021, the pipeline was already completed. The pipeline was constructed in 4 major phases, the fourth being Keystone, or KXL for short. The first phase being completed in 2010, the second in 2011, the third being broken up into 2, 3A being completed in 2012, and 3B in 2016. By 2013, KXL Phase 1 and 2 could deliver 590,000 barrels of oil per day. Phase 3 could deliver 700,000 BPD. The idea of Phase 4 was that it was a shorter route and a larger diameter pipe and would run through Baker, Montana, which produces light crude oil from Williston Basin, and if completed, would deliver 830,000 BPD. February 17, 2013, a protest between 35,000 to 50,000 was held in Washington, D.C., organized by the Sierra Club, 350.org, and the Hip Hop Covers, arguably one of the largest ever environmental protests in D.C. Okay, so let's talk about the environmental aspect of the pipeline. Issue number 1 of environmental proponents is that it would negatively affect and possibly destroy permanently animal and plant ecosystems, especially that of the whooping crane, which is an absolute beautiful bird. But when we really look at that assessment, is that really true? Take a look at these images of the U.S. interstate system and how the nation's roads would act essentially like a pipeline in regards to the damage it does to the ecosystem. And here are some state images for more detail. The U.S. has already largely cut down America's forest system. Plus, the pipeline has a minimum height requirement of 4 feet off the ground so animals can pass through the pipeline, or in some cases, it is built underground. Lastly, the U.S. already has hundreds of thousands of oil and gas pipelines, about 500,000 miles specifically. What's an extra 1,700 miles? Issue number 2 is that the pipeline could and has caused major oil leaking, especially the danger it could pose to one of North America's largest aquifers called the Igala aquifer, which it crosses. The aquifer provides massive amounts of water to local farming. This is a possible danger, but highly unlikely. However, it has leaked in the past. 400 barrels leaked in 2016 from weld anomalies. And in 2017, 9,600 barrels leaked in South Dakota. However, pipeline is safer than rail transportation. Issue number three, it would run through private property and influence owners who really do not want to sell and move. This is called eminent domain. Issue number four, the pipeline would add and contribute carbon pollution into the world's atmosphere. This is another myth. The US, as of 2020, consumes about 20 million barrels per day, and that doesn't change. What the US consumes is what it is going to consume, regardless of what company provides it for the US. There are many competing ways Canadian crude gets to the US market, and competition is fierce, particularly so in this down market. All all the forms of transporting oil, whether it is by vehicle, boat, pipeline, rail, or plane, pipeline has the smallest carbon footprint. So, that being said, let's talk about the energy aspect of the Keystone issue. Take a look at these graphs. America has become more and more energy independent and less dependent on oil imports since about 2014, largely due to the emergence of hydraulic fracturing, also known as fracking, which has helped the US go from $100 a barrel in 2014 to about $45 a barrel today. The US imports about 10 million barrels per day of oil from about 90 countries. 45% of oil imports comes from Canada, 7% Mexico, 6% Saudi Arabia, 6% Russia, and 4% Colombia. Canada exports about 3.8 million barrels per day to the US. As of 2020, the US produces about 19 million BPD and exports to about 190 countries. An interesting thing to note is that the US's net imports in 2019 was the lowest since 1954. And another interesting note is the US's total consumption hasn't really changed much since 1978. In 1978, the US consumed about 18.85 million BPD. In 2019, the US consumed about 20.46 million BPD. So, what could have been the benefits of KXL? 20,000 well paid jobs, but more accurately, about 4,000 to 6,000 temporary union jobs, an increase of 6.5 billion in personal income, 138.4 million in annual property tax revenue, 585 million in new taxes along the pipeline route, 5.2 billion in property taxes, 20 billion in private sector investments for food, lodging, vehicles, equipment, and construction supplies and services. Geographically, the US would have increased its energy security and reduced its dependency on foreign oil. Keep this in mind too. Since the COVID-19 shutdown, there has been a glut in oil. Could the US strategic reserve be completely full now from the COVID-19 lockdown? Now let's talk about the political aspects of KXL. Now that we have neutralized most of the arguments, is KXL just a political football issue designed to appeal and score points with the average voter that doesn't necessarily do a deep dive into researching a particular topic? For example, the Bush administration approved the permit in its last year of its administration, then approved by the Obama administration initially, but then delayed in 2015 for environmental reasons, claiming it would add an extra 18.7 million tons of carbon dioxide. Then in 2017, the Trump administration approves the permit, but was blocked in 2018 by a federal judge for more review, even though all the reviews were already done in 2008. Now, in 2021, it has been canceled once again. So, other than politicians, who else could have standed to win from the cancellation of KXL? Warren Buffett's company, Berkshire Hathaway, owns a company called Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railway Company, also known as BNSF Railway, which just built a brand new 164,000 square foot headquarters in Fort Worth, Texas in 2015, and has a workforce of over 41,000. They stand to win. BNSF handles about 80% of the imports in the US by rail. It transports about 173,000 BPD from Canada and transports about 700,000 BPD throughout the US. It has been rumored that Warren Buffett donated over 60 million to Biden's administration election fund, but only 254,000 can be proven. All oil not transported by pipeline is transported by rail. Another company owning pipeline from the oil sands to the US is Enbridges Inc.'s Line 3, which was set to expand. Lastly, who was set to lose from the cancellation of the KXL? TC Energy awarded 6 U.S. contractors $1.6 billion in contracts. They were Bernard Pipeline, Associated Pipeline, U.S. Pipeline, Michelle's, Precision Pipeline, and Price Gregory International. Finally, Koch Industries were in position to increase their profits substantially if KXL were to finish. As of February 8th, 2021, the OPEC basket stood at 59.58 US dollars per barrel.